Welcome guys, this week we are making some okra stew with 6 different proteins, and so I call it Noah's Ark because it has a whole lot of protein in there. So let's get started. So first we prep our ingredients, and of course the first ingredient is the okra itself. To check if it's fresh, if you break it off and it snaps off easily like that, it tells you that it's fresh okra. Then we move on to the garden eggs. You can actually use aubergine if you want, but I'm using garden eggs. And then 1 bulb of onion. Then we have some spinach. I'm using baby spinach. Now, I got this as well from Okro. It's just under 5 Ghana cedis. And I use spinach because it has a lot of nutrients in there. So it's really healthy. Adds a very nice touch to it. So that's the salted tilapia, and I'm going to cook it with the cowhide so it takes on the flavor of the fish and gives it a very nice salty taste. Then we move on to the pork. Now this is called stew and pork. I also got that from ShopRite. It ranges from about 15 to 20 Ghana cedis, and I'm going to cook this for about 20 minutes in ginger, garlic, salt and rosemary. I like stew and pork because it doesn't have a lot of bones in it, so it's mainly meat. So you're going to see what it looks like, the boil, in just a bit. It could even be more than 20 minutes as long as it's soft. So after cooking all of that, that's what the cowhide comes out looking like. I cut it in smaller pieces so it could cook faster. Then we have the tilapia as well boiled, and then that's the pork after I had cooked it for about 20 minutes and drained the stock. Now that's just 3. There's more protein coming. So then I had some chicken and some salmon in the fridge, and then I had some fresh shrimps. Now I got these shrimps from Senna's Frozen Farms. That's her Instagram handle, so you can just search for her, and she brings it cleaned and pre-peeled. So that's it. We have shrimps, chicken, salmon, tilapia, cowhide, and pork. So moving on to other stuff we need to prepare this. That's palm oil or red oil. And just so you know, this has more cholesterol than regular oil. So if you're checking your weight, this might not be the best recipe for you. Now there's pork stock as well. Stock from what I use to cook the pork. Then there's tomato puree. I use Tasty Tom because I really like how it tastes. Like it actually is tasty. Then there's some salt. And then we have some fresh Scotch bonnet peppers, also known as pakbosheto, and then fresh tomatoes. We're going to use these at the beginning of the stew. And so essentially that's all you need. So now we can start our stew. Now you begin by cutting up all your ingredients. Let's start with the okra. Now I like to cut it up in bigger chunks because I like it when the stew has a lot of volume. Like with 1 scoop you can actually grab chunks of the okra itself. Also, if you cut it in really small pieces, when you add water, it's going to turn into okra soup, and we want okra stew because okra stew is superior. Yes, I said it. So you repeat the same process for the garden eggs as well. And I actually sometimes eat this stew raw, like without anything. So that's another reason why I like everything in chunks, because when you get 1 scoop, there's enough content in there, there's enough things to munch on. So after cutting your onions, tomatoes, garden eggs, and okra in chunks, this is what your prep plate should look like. So now we go ahead and wash our spinach. Now I tossed it in a colander, and you can actually add salt or vinegar just to make sure it's really clean, and wash every leaf. Now after washing, we go ahead and cut them into thin slices like that. If it's way too small, it's going to disappear in the stew, unless you don't mind. Now at this point, you've prepped everything, your veggies and your meat, and so you can go ahead and start the stew. In a really hot pot, you pour about half a cup of your palm oil, and then when the color changes, it shows you that it's really hot. So you go ahead and toss in some onions. Then you flake in the tilapia that you cooked earlier. Now this is going to give it all a really nice flavor. You add your diced Scotch bonnet peppers as well, and the base of the stew is really important because it gives it a very nice taste. You can actually add garlic if you want. So you go ahead and add your tomatoes as well, give it a good stir, and you're going to let that simmer for a bit. So When it's simmered for about 5 minutes, you add your tomato paste as well, and then you stir all that. You're going to let this sit for a while, again about 3 minutes. When it looks like that, you pour about half of the pork stock that you had earlier, and you stir it all again, and then you cover it for it to simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes. When it starts to look like that, you can go ahead and start adding your spices. Now here I used curry, black pepper, salt, and rosemary. You can vary the spices according to what you want, just about a tablespoon. And I added chili powder as well. So I mixed all that in, and then you cover it again for it to simmer for about 5 minutes. Now it's going to look like that. When it looks like that, you're ready to put in your veggies. I'm going to do the okra first. I like to do the okra first because it takes a while for it to cook, and you want your okra to be really soft when you bite into it. If you put it in later, it might not get enough time to cook and it might taste hard. So put that in first. You leave that to simmer for a while. When it begins to look like that, you go ahead and you add your garden eggs. So now we add our proteins. I did shrimp first, so you just toss it in after you've cleaned it. And then I went ahead to do the chicken and the salmon because I took those from the freezer, and so I needed it to cook a bit. Now when the shrimp starts cooking, it's going to start curling up like that. So then you know that your shrimp is cooking. You stir it up a bit, and then you go ahead and you add your cowhide and your protein. Yes, more meat. Stir it all together, and you're gonna leave that for again another 5 minutes. This food takes a while, but it's definitely worth it. Now after 5 minutes, when it begins to look like that, then you can go ahead and add your spinach, onions, and some more pepper. Now you don't stir this in because you don't want it tearing up. You just press it in slightly, and then you close the pot for about 5 minutes, and then it's going to look like that. Can you guys see how rich this looks? I'm actually going to stir it for you to see. That is some really rich and delicious okra stew. And there, we're done. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. You can actually eat this with some eba, with some banku. You can eat it with rice. I'm judging you, but you can eat it with rice. So I'm going to show you how to eat this with banku. I think I'll do another video for non-Ghanaians so you learn how to make banku, and then you can do the complete meal. So you just take a bit of your banku, you dip it into the stew, and you guys, this tasted amazing. Yes, I know I made it and I'm hyping, but it really tasted amazing. The flavors just came together and it was just beautiful. So you can try this recipe at me on Instagram or at me on Twitter with your tryouts. Don't forget to share this video with your friends, family. So until next week, bye. So stay tuned to see a bit of what we're going to do next week.